In today's video, we're going to talk about how brand new actors can make it into Hollywood by building their personal brands. And I am bringing on a special guest, Andria Schultz, who is a brand strategist and consultant for entertainment professionals and organizations. After declaring herself to be the future CEO of Disney at the age of 8, she did everything possible to learn about the world of entertainment. She has worked on the production team for a variety of popular TV programs, including America's Funniest Home Videos, Disney Channel's Bizaardvark, and so much more. Get ready for a jam-packed episode with Andria Schultz. Welcome, Andria. I am so happy and so excited you are here. So I want to start off by asking you, can anybody make it into Hollywood? Because I know there are so many people who want to be actors, they want to be singers. So you tell me, can anybody make it into Hollywood?
Absolutely. I mean, you can be any age and you can make it. I think we all can agree that there are so many actors that have started their careers, late in life, and that didn't stop them or prevented them from saying, you know what, I'm going to go and fulfill my dream. So, yeah, I mean, if you are just starting out or, maybe you're at a different job and you're thinking about maybe getting into acting, now's the time to do it. I know our industry is a little bit interesting right now. Like, things are a little bit slower than normal, but that's okay. I think the biggest thing is just really honing in on your craft and knowing what that you can actually put in the work and the effort, even when things are slow. I think more than ever now is the time to do that.
Yeah, I love hearing that. What would you say? Because I know, of course, you've been in this industry for quite some time now. What
Yeah.
would you say is like maybe like the first like four steps someone should take if they're even like looking into getting into Hollywood? Like, what would you tell them to do with their like brand, with their like resume, with their social media? Like, what are maybe like the first four steps that you also tell like your clients to do when they want to get into Hollywood?
Gosh, I would say the first thing that you want to do is really understand what your foundational pieces are first. And what I mean by that is really honing in on who you are as a person, knowing what type of genre or subgenre you want to go into, knowing specifically what part of the industry you want to get yourself into, because there's different avenues that you can go. Like you can be in television, you could be in film, maybe you just want to do commercial work or voiceover, right? There's a plethora of opportunity in this industry. So you got to really niche down a little bit. Doesn't
Yeah.
mean that when you niche down, doesn't mean that you're like, limiting your opportunities. It just means that you're building a foundation first. And then let's say you want to be a producer or a writer or director later down the road. You absolutely can. So I always tell my actors that's step one is just really deciding where it is you want to start first. And I'll actually segue into something that one of my mentors taught me. But
Yeah.
I remember when I was first trying to get into this industry and I had the chance to get onto a Disney Channel set. I was around like 21 years old. And I had asked my mentor, I said, I want to be a very well-known producer. I also want to be the next CEO of Disney. Like, how can I get there? And he said, well, great. What type of producer do you want to be? And I kind of just looked at him like, I have no idea. Like, what do
Yeah.
you mean by that? And he's like, well, there's coordinating producer, associate producer, executive producer. Where do you see yourself? And I'm like, gosh, I have no idea. He's like, well, I'm going to tell you something that I was told when I first started in this industry. If you do not proclaim who you are in this industry, no one will take you seriously.
Mm.
And so that was so key because if I myself didn't claim what I wanted to become, then how are other people going to know? Right. So
Yeah.
I always
Yeah.
love saying that first. And then I would say the second step is really thinking like an entrepreneur in this industry. It's so, so key and so important to think like an entrepreneur because if you don't, then you're going to be behind because there's a lot of actors out there and there's a lot of successful ones for that matter that actually have thought like an entrepreneur. So for example, they're doing speaking engagements or they're doing brand collaborations or brand deals or they're buying out companies or maybe they're even creating a production company in order to create opportunities for themselves. But it all started with them starting at the acting career first, building that credibility which is the third step, is building your credibility, right? And then the fourth step, which is also making sure that you have acquired enough credits in order to get yourself either SAG, certified, or maybe you have the right agent or manager.
Mm.
Do you need an agent or manager to succeed in this industry? The answer is no, you don't.
That's good to know because I
Yes,
didn't
you
know
do
that.
not. Yeah, you definitely do not. Is it recommended? Absolutely. But
Yeah.
there's a way to find the right, agent or manager that's going to work for you. Because
Yeah.
what I really want people to understand too is that they do about 75% of the work. The
Mm.
rest of the work is you networking. If you don't know how to network, you don't know how to do those things, which is, by the way, we talk about that in my class. Networking is key, to your success in this industry. But if you don't understand that, then it's going to make it very difficult for you to navigate the industry as a whole. And you need to understand that. And as an
Mm.
entrepreneur, you need to also make sure that you're putting together your list. You're making sure that you have a good understanding of what business transactions or, conversations have been talked about. So that way you're keeping track. Because a lot of the times actors will have a tendency to say, okay, the agent and the manager can take care of that.
Yeah.
And they don't know what's going on, right? So you have to be very self-aware. You have to be very organized, and you need to know who's on your team. If you don't have the foundation set exactly the way that you need to have it, it can easily collapse because maybe you have the wrong agent or maybe you have the
Right.
wrong manager on your team. So
Yeah.
those are all things that I really try to highlight.
Yeah, I love that. I know you mentioned building credibility. Now, of course, I also help people build their personal brand and I talk about like building credibility and authority. How would you recommend actors to do that? Like, is it building like their brand on social media? Like, I know you talk about personal branding, but then you also talk about actor brands, right? Can you kind of talk about the difference? Because I know before jumping on, I'm like, oh, there's a difference between the two. Like I had no idea. Right. So talk a little bit about that and how like what can they actually do to build that like credibility factor within them?
Absolutely. No, that's a great, great question. I would say honestly, personal branding is really focused on the front end, right? What people see, right? And what you want them to see. So you have the ability to do that by having a website. You
Mm.
have the ability by doing that by having your social media. What you want casting directors to see, writers, directors, producers, right? That's part of your personal branding. But when I talk about an actor's brand, it's really, okay, what your inner self, right? Like your inner story. What is it that you're really trying to showcase to your audience, right? In a way that comes off authentic. Because what happens is that sometimes when we don't know who we are or what projects we want to be a part of, we're told what projects we should be doing
Mm.
when really we have the capability of saying, wait, this is who I am. This is what I am capable of showcasing. And the audience is also agreeing to that, right? Because you have to listen
Yeah.
to your audience as well. Like you
Mm.
can't just be like, okay, me. This is what I want people to see, but I also don't want to take anything that the audience is saying. No, like
Right.
there's a balance, right? Like if you listen to the audience too much, you're going to be dragged
Mm.
in a way that's not authentic to you either.
Mm.
So, if we were to break down, and this is how I like to explain it too,
Yeah.
even
Yeah.
um, just with the actors, but like take Jackie Chan. He's got two brands, right? He's got his stunt coordinating brand and he's got his actor's brand. And what he does is he puts it together, right? So if we look at his stunt coordinating brand, something that he really likes to do is he loves using chairs, objects, right? Uh,
Right.
or he loves to use his kicks, but he has a specific kick that he does. He always goes for the chest up, right?
Yeah.
That's a signature move. Um, he also has facial expressions that he makes, when he's doing these stunts. So maybe he might purse his lips a little bit, like, oh,
Mm.
right? Or like maybe he'll make a sound, say, hi, yeah, or
Yeah.
something like that, right? But those are little elements that make him stand out as a stunt coordinator, or maybe he does parkour, right? All of those things matter, Whereas with his acting brand, the facial expressions, the way that he says certain things, right? The types of roles that he takes on, right? So a lot of the roles that he likes to do is he really focuses on like characters that are fatherly figure, and then he has to take care of somebody, or maybe he has to save someone's life, right?
Yeah.
It's the same storyline over and over and over again, but he's not changing or swaying what type of story he wants to say
Yeah.
or what he wants to tell. But that's all part of branding, right? Is
Mm.
really understanding all of those key components
For
together.
sure. A question that came up as you were describing and talking about that was in the really beginning when actors are trying to even just get like their first gig, if it doesn't necessarily align with their story or their personal brand, should they take it to even just like get the experience or should they wait?
That is a great question. Honestly, I've been asked this a couple of times with some of my newer students, and I say go get the experience.
Hmm.
Like, it's
Yeah.
okay to get yourself on set. I want my students to get on set. I think that's very important because you learn set etiquette. That is so key for your success as well, because that's part of the networking, right? So if you're not really understanding how things work, right, and maybe you're on your phone while you're on set, it's probably not the best thing that you
Yeah.
should be doing. You should be observing, right? You should be observing. You should be very like diligent about like, oh, who's on set today? Who should I be
Yeah.
talking to? Or maybe making it a rule that you need to talk to one person a day while you're on set, right? That's a great example of something that you can do, even if it's not the right fit, right? Just to get the acquired experience. Now, there is a time and point where you have to be true to yourself too, right? Like there are projects where, as an entrepreneur, we know immediately we have to have a mission, vision, and values, right? And we don't stray away from those mission, vision, and values. And that's part of your personal branding, right?
Mhm.
So if you don't have an understanding of that, then you're going to be pulled in so many different directions.
Right. Right.
So it's important to kind of lay the law early. Like if you're not comfortable doing a scene, right? You
Yeah.
say, I'm not okay with this, So
Yeah.
draw the line where you think that you need to draw it. But if you need to acquire experience, get credits, by all means, do it. Totally fine.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, no, I love that you just like, said that so clearly because yeah, I'm sure a lot of people that are just like getting started, they're not sure exactly if they should take gigs or if they should wait, like all of those things. But when it comes to social media and building your personal brand on there as an actor, would you
Yeah.
recommend someone doing that consistently? Because I've personally seen so many just artists, specifically on TikTok, blow up out of nowhere just by them posting, them singing or them dancing or even them acting. Like I follow this one account. I can't remember this person's name, but they literally create movie scenes on TikTok. It's crazy. It's so awesome to see. Would you recommend people do that for building their personal brand?
Absolutely. Yeah, like creating opportunity for yourself. I mean, we literally have the technology now to do that, so why wait for the opportunity? So I always tell my students, go create, a short film, go do something, that you feel is going to bring value to somebody within the industry. Maybe you found an area in which they're lacking, right? And you go and fulfill that area that's lacking. That gets you seen, right? Like I actually have a good friend of mine that did exactly that. His name is Julian Terry. And something that he did is he created a short film and posted it on YouTube, right? But what he did that was really smart is that he actually got article companies to talk about the specific short film that he was working on because it hit and tackled issues and or areas that had never been tapped into. And
Mhm.
it was a talking point for PR, right? As you and I both
Yeah.
know. Um, and believe it or not, Steven Spielberg ended up seeing it and he got signed, to
Wow.
direct his first film. So that's a great example of the power of social media and thinking outside the box and not waiting for an opportunity to happen. I think even more than ever now with the way that our industry is going, thank goodness we're not going into a strike as of right now, hopefully cross
Yeah.
fingers with IATSE, but like, we had a strike not too long ago, and we're just in the recovering phase. And I would even say this year as well, we're in a war of distribution, honestly. So if you've noticed, a lot of these bigger companies have really been focusing on, figuring out who's going to own what, where
Yeah.
they're going to be distributing things. You've probably noticed they've taken things off, of the streaming platforms. So as an
Mhm.
actor, it's very, very important, more than ever now to start content creating and not
Yeah.
waiting for an opportunity.
Is there anything that these actors shouldn't be posting on social media, like in terms of just keeping up with their like actor brand, of course, their personal brand, like things that they should avoid posting on social media? Like, could that hurt their careers based on what they're posting? I'm sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely things like, so, what's funny is that a lot of the industry has called for, people not to be too influencer-like.
Mm,
All right. So, yes, there is a line that has to be drawn. And we talk about this a lot in the program, but I'll just give you guys a great example. Like, let's say you do have a brand deal, let's say you have, I don't know, Coach, and Coach made a luggage.
mm. Yeah.
Right? Like you wouldn't normally do like an influencer post being like, this is my luggage, check it out, and kind of
Yeah.
exploring how it works or whatever. You wouldn't want to do that as an actor. A great example of what you can do to make it less influencer-like, but still upholding to the contract that you might have with the brand, is that maybe let's say you've got a gig out in Paris and you're about to go shoot your movie. You've got your suitcase.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
could just take a photo saying in front of the studio going like this and having your suitcase in the back and then just being like off to my next gig. And then
Mm.
that's it, but you're upholding the brand deal, but you're also not being so influencer like, but you're also showing parts of the acting industry in a way that's unique, right? So, and you're sticking to the guidelines of what Hollywood's also requiring. I'm putting quotes around that, requiring
Yeah.
you to do. But yeah, I mean, there's ways around it. I genuinely think that if you are an actor and that's exactly what you want to do, stick to creating content around your acting career. I
Yeah.
mean, that's really,
Yeah.
it's as simple as that. You don't need to go too hardcore like other content creators that are out
Right.
there. Mhm.
Right. No, for sure. That's good to know because yeah, a lot of times people are very confused on what to post on social media to build their brand, get gigs, all those
Right.
things. So, no, I love that. Um, two-part question. So, agents that are looking to work with actors, what do they look for in actors? And then also, what should actors be looking for in agents? Because, of course, you don't want to, work with an agent that doesn't necessarily, take in consideration of what you want and your story and your brand. So, what would you say they look for, and what should you be looking for?
I would say that they're looking for someone that's marketable.
Mm.
I mean, that's really what it comes down to. Like, if you don't have a clear, concise, idea of what you're really trying to go for, or you haven't taken enough acting classes, or you haven't,
Can you give an example of like what that would look like? Like, because I
yeah,
know some people are probably watching this are like, okay, what does that
I
actually look
mean.
like?
Yeah, for sure. Okay, I'll give you an example with one of my students. All right. Her
Yeah.
name's Lindsay. I won't give her last name, but she actually got signed with the People Store, right? They're an agency that's pretty, they're an amazing agency, by the way.
Yeah.
But the point is that, she didn't have her headshots or demo reels, completely figured out. We were working on it, right? We had it ready, which by the way, I always recommend that you at least have a plan and or you have them ready before getting an agent. And the reason
Yeah.
why is because they immediately ask for those things. So it's better to be prepared than not. So I'll say
Yeah.
that really quickly. But with her, we knew what our plan was. We knew exactly what type of headshots we wanted, the brand colors that went with that. really think these things through with Actors Brand Academy. Like we go through major in-depth conversations about that. But because she had that ready and she knew how to network and navigate the industry and ask the agent the right questions, she got the agent's attention,
Mm.
right? And she also attended, a showcase, right? So she was showcasing a part of her acting, to these
Yeah.
agents. And her acting was on par because she had already figured out, okay, this is what my brand is. This is how I want them to perceive and see me as, and this is how I hope that, I can
Right.
get their attention. So by just even going to that showcase, showing what she could do, she attracted the right people, right? And the people store ended up approaching her, and she had to go through her audition phase. I had to help her through a couple of things there, but ultimately, at the end of the day, she already had a clear idea of who she was, and she made sure that she was communicating that with them.
Mm.
This is what I expect. And, because there's set expectations that they have, and then there's expectations that you should have,
Right.
because it's really a two-way street, right? You're running your business and they're running their business. So those expectations need to be met. So of course we had to hire a lawyer, and those are things that I hope that actors, you guys do. It's so, so important to hire a contract lawyer to go through your contracts, because
Yeah.
really the agencies are in favor of themselves. They don't care
Right.
about the artists at the end of the day. They
Yeah.
really care about what's the return on investment that they're going
Mm.
to be getting. And so you have to understand what you're reading, and you want to make sure that they're not taking advantage either, right? Because there might be residual percentages or, things like that that come into effect. And there's wiggle room, right? If they're
Right.
the right agent, of course, because there's some really bad agencies out there, unfortunately. There's fake ones, right? So if they try to, I don't know, like charge you up front,
Mm.
it's fake, right? You shouldn't be getting charged up front. It should always be a percentage.
That's good to know. That's
Yes.
something I didn't know.
Yeah. So I hope that helps, you better understand like how to market yourself. But that's
Yeah.
why if they don't understand how to market you, they've got a plethora of people, on their
Right.
roster. So how are you going to stand out from that list so they pay
Right.
more attention to you, right?
Yeah.
That's how it works.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. The last thing I want to ask you before we start to wrap things up, I know you talked a lot about, of course, networking and connection, and it's
Yeah.
about who you know, right? What are a few things that you would recommend actors to do to like get into the places where there are people that they should be connecting and networking with? Like, let's say for an example, someone lives in, I don't know, like Texas, like where should they go? Like, should they fly to California and go to like networking events? Like what would you recommend these people to do?
So that's an interesting question. I have had students, okay, one of them, his name is Eddie. He's amazing. But Eddie, if you want it, you'll make it happen. I
Hmm.
know sometimes money is an issue, right? And to those of you that may have some financial hardships right now, it's okay. You don't have to do what Eddie did. I will say that you can network from home.
Mm.
Right? There's a right way and the wrong way to do that. Of course, like you don't want, anyone could reach out to anybody,
Right.
because they're either coming off as a fan or, stuff like that. My recommendation is don't be a fan. Just
Mm.
like be yourself.
Yeah.
Like everybody's an equal. If you see it that way, just because they have a title or whatever, and you're more worried about the titles, and yikes stripes, like get rid of that mentality. But like you should honestly just be getting to know somebody just to get to know them and like get to know their heart, right? And eventually you never know what could happen. But with Eddie, what he did is I had an opportunity where I actually brought some of my students to a stunt coordinating opportunity, and he wants to be a
Oh,
stunt coordinator.
yeah.
And this was actually held in LA with some pretty well-known stunt coordinators that have worked on Pirates of the Caribbean and Power Rangers and all of this stuff, right? So he said, you know what? I'm going to make it happen. And he flew just for the day,
Oh my gosh, I
just to
love
come to
that.
the event. And then he flew all the way back the same day.
Yeah.
If you want it, you will make it happen. So I always say, don't have excuses, just go and do it. Like that's, and believe it or not, he made such a great impression that this stunt coordinator is still working with him today because of that.
Wow.
So
That's
it's the little
amazing.
things that you do, right, that
Yeah.
matter.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that reminds me when I was getting started in building my personal brand and building my business. That's all I did. I would fly to events, networking events, red carpet premieres. And I just remember it was also just so fun because I was in college and I didn't have that much money. I remember borrowing money
Yeah.
from my friends to go on these flights and go attend these events. But it paid off so much because I got in the room with people who already basically had the life that I wanted, right? And it's
Yes.
priceless. It's like it's the one person that you meet that can literally change the entire trajectory of your life and your career and your path. So I just love that you brought up that specific story because it just goes to show it's like, yeah, if you want it bad enough, like you will figure it out and you'll make it happen.
Exactly. And to your point, which I appreciate that you even said that, just, you found the means to make it work.
Yeah.
And I think that that's such an important lesson for every one of us, whether you're trying to be an actor, a doctor, director, whatever it is
Anything.
that you're trying to
Yeah.
go for. It's like you can make it happen. It's just a matter of how bad do you really want it? Because, and of course, don't compromise your morals and values to get
Right.
there. That's not what I
Right.
mean. But it's like, okay, yes, like you can do it just like Sabah did, just like Eddie did, just like I've done, right?
Mhm.
Um, yeah. And I think the biggest lesson that I will say is always trust your gut.
Mm.
Always trust your gut, especially in this industry, because there's a lot of people that say they've done things or, they've created opportunities for themselves, or maybe they're a producer, director, writer. Everyone says that they are. So
Yeah.
you have to know how to distinguish who's actually telling the truth versus someone that, yes, they might be in the process of doing that
Right.
versus someone who's actually done it. And the ones that you want to listen to are the people that actually have done it,
Done it.
have acquired what you're trying to go for in your life. Those are the true mentors that you want to lean on, especially when it comes to your own success. It's great to lean on peers, it's great to do all of that, but just remember everyone's going for the same thing, especially your peers. So they're not probably the best people to listen to. So it's better to get your knowledge from someone that has done it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I love that. I was just about to ask you what's like one thing that you can tell young actors, but I think you just answered that question.
Yeah.
My last question to wrap everything up, which is a question I ask all of my interviewees, is Andrea, what makes you unforgettable?
Oh gosh. I would have to, man, you're asking me hard questions today, Sabah. Um, Unforgettable. I would have to say my tenacity. I think there has been so many moments in my life where, God was like, "Hey, you need to learn this lesson."
Mm,
I could have said, "I give up. I can't do this. It's too hard. It's too difficult." But I think something that kept me going is really having that faith and knowing that, yes, it may be hard right now, but it's only hard if I make it hard. So I have
I
to be the
love that.
one,
I love that so much. Yeah.
right? Because
Yeah.
if I'm the only one that's in my way, no one else is.
Yeah.
So I have to step out of my ego, right? And say, I can do this. It's going to take me a while, but I can get there. So I would say tenacity. I don't give up on myself.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
love that. I love that about you. And I'm so happy you came on today. Andrea, people want to connect with you, reach out to you, maybe join your program, work with you. How can they find you and what do you have going on?
Oh my goodness. Well, right now I actually have a group coaching program. It's $500 for 3 months, and you actually get to have interviews. You get to join interviews with celebrities, executives, and professionals in the class. We get to go through the entire program together as a group, which is pretty awesome. But if you're somebody that really needs more of that one-on-one, I also offer a one-on-one coaching program where you get basically 6 1-hour calls, plus the group coaching, plus also the celebrity interviews and all of that. And that's $1,000 for, every 3 months. So yeah, that's basically that. And then if people do want to, get connected with me and maybe have a conversation,
Yeah.
totally open to that. I actually prefer that, to be honest with you. I love getting on the phone with people and just getting to know your heart, getting to know what you're trying to go for, and then seeing if we're a good fit. So if you're maybe one of those that's like, I'm not sure yet, right?
Yeah.
I would just email me. The best email would be support at actorsbrandacademy.com. And yeah, I'll give Sabah the rest.
Yeah,
But yeah,
yeah,
that's
no,
the
I'll
best
make
way to
sure
get
to
a hold of
put
me.
all of your links in the description. So everybody that's watching, reach out to Andrea. She is amazing. She is super, super, super connected. So make sure to reach out to her. But Andrea, thank you so much for coming on today. And everybody else, I will catch you guys in the next video. And until then, make sure that you stay unforgettable.
Thank you, Sabah, for having me.